Good morning, everybody. Just want to make sure all our tech is working. Okay, let's see. Open up. Right, let me just make sure I can see if you're here. Say hi. We are up to episode 6 today. One second. Okay, here we go. Let me just wrong button. Let's get back to where I was. Okay. Get my notes. All right. Hey everyone, welcome to Life Interrupted. Today is episode 6, where we are talking about supporting parents through this pandemic. And we split this show into 3 segments: support for parents, how parents can support kids, and resources around equity, diversity, and inclusion. So for today's episode, what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to let you guys know too, if there's any topics that you want to hear more about, reach out and let me know, because that's what we want to be able to cover and what we want to be able to discuss. So for today, what I want to talk about for parents, right? When we think about support for parents, one of the things that's been coming up a lot, and I know I've heard a lot of other therapists discussing this as well, is that now that things are starting to open up a little bit, we're seeing an increase again of anxiety, right? There was kind of, when everything started shutting down initially and people were staying at home, there was sort of this increase in anxiety, and then people kind of find a routine, and we saw it go down a little bit. It seems that we might be having another increase around anxiety, which of course makes sense with things starting to open up. And this is going to be very much related to where you are living, if you are still in the same situation, or if you have, if there's less cases and they're starting to open up. But what I wanted to talk about is, how do we deal with this anxiety again, right? What does that look like? What are the ways that we handle this as it's increasing again, right? So when we think about that, you want to focus on what's happening right now. What do you have control over? And what can you do, in regards to sort of safety planning, right? Safety planning for you and your family. That's a lot of times, right, when you have sort of this anxiousness, thinking about what do you have control over? What are the safety measures that you've already taken, both for yourself as well as for protecting, right, the community? Because a lot of times by us staying at home, we're able to also protect others. And thinking about and also, are there conversations you could maybe have with your job around this, if you need to be able to, if they're expecting you to go back and you need to be home longer, right? So being able to have those conversations, being able to identify what is it that you currently have control over, and what are the areas that you feel like it's spiraling out, and that's where the anxiety is coming from. So really recognize what is triggering the anxiety, and what are different ways of addressing those specific anxieties, right? A lot of times when we feel anxiety, it brings up a lot of other things for us. When we might have really only been anxious about one specific thing that we might be able to work on or put measures around, or come up with different coping mechanisms that could help us adapt and deal with it. So I want you to be able to identify the specific anxiety and where it's coming from, instead of just letting it spiral out of control, right? And I think it was episode 1 or 2 where we talked about different grounding techniques. That would also be great. Go back and watch that. If it's starting again, those are some excellent resources for helping you stay grounded. The next thing I want to talk about was support for kids. So what I wanted to talk about support for kids was checking in with your kids around how things are going for them socially, right? Depending on the age of their kids. Middle school, high school, right? They're going to be very friend-centered, right? Specifically high schoolers. And so this is a really big change for them socially, not being able to interact with their friends in the way they typically would. And so you want to know what is going on for them socially. How do they feel like things are going with their friends? Do they feel like, where do they are they able to keep in contact? Do they feel like they're still having that same connection with their friends, or do they feel like they're losing some of that? Are the bonds still there? Do they need to make more new friends? And what are ways to do that in this challenging climate, right? A lot of times I think when kids are like in middle school and high school, right, friends shift a lot. And so they may have had opportunities when they were in school to make new friends that may not be there right now. And so what are ways that you can support them in doing this? Right? What are ways that maybe you might be able to reach out to some people that you know that might have some kids that are around their age, or maybe that you don't know that well, and maybe they could connect with some new people. And another way of also getting them to engage with other people might be what's like a project that maybe they can work on, some kind of mission-based something that they can gather people around, right? So maybe if it's something that they're interested in, could they maybe get together with a couple other middle schoolers or teens around helping younger kids get their homework done? Maybe they work with kids online, helping younger kids get their homework done. Or is there some kind of thing they can do? You know, it's the planning process of talking about and interacting with each other around helping like frontline workers. Something that what might they be able to do? Even it's just, you know, sending thank you cards, right? Or is there anything else maybe more substantial? Are they, you know, what can they do that could make a difference? And how can they maybe pick something that they can take leadership on and help organize with their friends or people they don't know that well, and gather around an idea and work around that, and like push for that change, right? So that's something that might help if the social interaction they seem to kind of not be struggling with it somewhat. And the last thing, whoop, computer's going. The last thing that we want to touch on is our racial equity diversity and inclusion resource. I'm going to share it since I'm able to do that today. I know last time we had some trouble with that. Let me just, whoop, 1 second. Okay. So this is a resource, what happened here? Here it is, okay. That is geared for kids in grades 6 through 12. And it's through PBS NewsHour Extra, and I'll post the link. It was around having conversations with your kids, videos around coronavirus and the connection to social justice issues, right? So how to have these conversations with your kids, or even recommending it for their teachers to use with them in class, but also just stuff that your kids can do at home and work on. So there's about 5 videos, and it also, so you can see it says it has resources, news for students and teachers, grades 6 through 12. So this is social justice and the coronavirus, and it walks you through like different ways of doing it. So deciding which video you want to watch. There's a few different videos, and they also have some questions related to it. So if you keep going down, this one's around incarceration. This one is around the rise in report of Asian Americans being experiencing racist attacks amid the pandemic. So all of this sort of, right, like videos to watch on it. The economic crisis, the food banks are struggling, so the food crisis, delivery workers being exposed to the virus, and everything that this, right, and it has here, you can see, so essential questions, who was interviewed. So you're working on it, it's kind of getting to them to think about it in different ways, as well as helping them just build those critical thinking skills on these topics. And it's a good way when a lot of times we're not sure how to have this conversation with the kids, or how to make it a more tangible way for them to understand. Watching one of these videos might be helpful, and even doing that right as a family can be helpful. So I will post that link so you have it. If you use it, let me know how it goes. You can, share in the group, in our multiracial parenting network group, share, reach out to me. I'd love to know how any of these strategies, if you're trying them out, how they're going. If you need more support, reach out. And we do this 2 times a week. So Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern time and Sunday mornings at 9:30 Eastern time. All right. Hope everybody is having a good weekend. And I look forward to seeing everybody. Oh, wait, let me just check. Yes. Okay. Yes, I've got, just make sure I got everything in. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.